Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the Nutritious channel. The Fitness Fab. We're talking health wellness today, big time, with my guest, who's a holistic nutritionist and a cancer coach, energy psychologist, Ayurveda, and yoga expert, and really helping people, cancer survivors, and cancer patients, to go through a healthy lifestyle and hopefully changing their lives to better and healthier and well. It is a lot of work, and certainly cancer is it's really a thing that is existing, that is, real. It is destructive, and everybody in this world probably have experienced it directly or indirectly through their friends, circle, family members, and so on and so forth. I have personally experienced it in my family, and it is a sadly effect of life, and there's a lot of environments and reasons why it's happening more than ever. And again, but I'm not the expert. Our expert will shed a light on all that with us, and the different ways to treat or deal with it, from holistic approach and Ayurveda concept and so on and so forth. Being, I think, if I'm not mistaken, my guest has experienced cancer herself, and we'll talk more about that. So with me, without any further ado, I have Shruti Sethi. Shruti, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and an honor.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. And really, it is a topic that, it's just phenomenal in terms of the damage that it's doing in this world. And it's probably one of the biggest causes of, illness or even that, and there's a variety of different types of cancer and stuff. And, you are in the wellness space, and you also run, what is it? Awaana Health is your, wellness center. So we'll talk about all the services and the work you do as well there. But before we get into that, like, let's talk about your story, how you got into this, and certainly, you have, a little bit more deeper understanding of this particular disease. Let's talk about all that.
Yeah. How I came into this is, of course, a very personal journey. In 2016, I got diagnosed with cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is an immune system cancer. I really didn't know what the heck is immune system that time. 34 years age. I was so, it was just unbearable to uh, just see the reports. I was living absolutely, that was a denial phase for me because I just couldn't understand how a healthy person like me could get cancer. Doctors had no answer. Of course, it's a multifactorial disease. I understand, but what there must be some cause for it. There must be some triggers which is causing all of the diseases. So I was not able to get my questions answered properly, and it was up to me to decide and know the root cause because I didn't want it to, when you get the diagnosis of cancer, it's like, what is my time over? Like, is this it? Or because we've seen in movies, we've seen people, the quality of life deteriorates, the family life gets disturbed. So, so much things going on with cancer. Though there are thousands of advancements, but the process is still the same. And it is very torturous for a person to go through these tests and going to the doctors. And I faced all of this and I was like, oh my God, like if I have to go through this, I need to do something so that at least my quality of life is maintained. And when I started researching on my own, I wish there were podcasts and there were more seminars like these that time, but I had to do my own research. I started talking to people, and I realized that number one reason for having cancer is lifestyle. Now, since I come from a vegetarian family and I thought I'm eating healthy and but I would not get any kind of diseases. But when I looked into it, I traced my steps back, and I always had gut issues. I had severe hormonal imbalance, PCOD, and I had asthma. I had wheezing all the time. So my body was inflamed. My body was clogged. My lymphatic system was clogged, and digestive issues were there. I had so much acne on my face. It was all the time red. Now it's pretty clear, but believe me, I told my mom I want to get a surgery done because I just was so embarrassed looking at myself. So, when you see when you okay, I was physically fit, but internally was I happy? Was I like I was also going through a divorce when I got diagnosed. There was a lot happening in my life, and the doctors don't really ask you the relevant questions. Okay, are you stressed, or what is your diet like? I've never been to a doctor and asked they asking this question, what is your diet? What do you eat? So number one thing is our inner environment. Inner environment can be your the nutrition, how are you peace with yourself, how happy you are, how are you in your life, like are you energetic, are you feeling uh, are you lethargic, what is going on in your internal world. So of course I was craving for sugar. I always craved for sugar, and the fuel for cancer is the sugar and the glucose. And I was feeding myself desserts and processed foods and thinking that it's okay, like once in a while processed foods, but not knowing that sugar and you know I thought that I'll burn sugar when I go to the gym, but that's not the case. So you have to understand your lifestyle in from a very microscopic level. Okay, how am I sleeping, how am I pooping, how am I energy, how are my energy levels, do I wake up fresh, do I wake up positive, or is there any something to look forward to during the day or in the night, how are my thoughts. So when I dissected my life, I was obviously in a very unhappy place. I was not eating the way I should be, I was not feeling the way would be. I would never, my body was not able to wake up before 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, I was never a morning person. But I when I started changing all this while I was, because I didn't have too much information. I had to take chemo because I had three stage 3 cancer. And while I was taking chemo, I also changed my lifestyle and I saw a massive difference. I went on a plant based diet, whole food plant based diet. And so no processed food, no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, and absolutely eating home cooked meals, eating more raw vegetables, juicing, etc. So saw a massive difference in the way I was dealing with chemo in the day, and in my positivity, in how I was feeling throughout the day, my energy levels, the side effects. I did not take even a pill during the course of chemo, because the doctors give you a whole chart that if you have nausea, take this pill. If you have digestive issues, take this pill. If you have diarrhea, take this pill. If you have constipation, take this pill. If you're unhappy, go to the neurologist. Take if you're in, if because a lot of people get into depression as well. But I did not take even one single pill that time, and I give that credit to my lifestyle change absolutely. Also, I incorporated yoga and Ayurvedic principles of living, eating before 6 o'clock, like by 6:30 I finished my meal, and intermittent fasting, at least having 14 to 16 hours of gap between my meal. And not even in Ayurveda they say that the first meal when you get up in the morning should not be heavy. Like it's a myth that your breakfast should be king. No, from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, the body is um, in the detox mode. So the you should be giving your food, you should be giving your body the food which is easily digestible, which is easily absorbed, and good nutrient dense food, instead of having a piece of bread and coffee first thing in the morning and having a lot of acidic based foods. You should treat your body with alkaline foods. So all these small little changes made a difference. Meditation made a lot of difference in my life. I started yoga during having cancer, and that made my body flexible. That also oxygenated me, because cancer cells do not live in an oxygenated environment. So you have to, and Dr. Otto Warburg has done numerous amount of experiments, and he's also won a Nobel Prize on this. So he has said that acidic environment and an oxygenated environment, a deoxygenated environment, is the food for cancer, and you need oxygen and you need alkaline environment in order to kill those cancer cells. So I started looking into that principle, and I also took the help of alternate medicines like homeopathy sometimes or Ayurveda, also took ozone therapy, high dose vitamin C. So I have done whole lot of things because the purpose was to remain, just come out of cancer and never get cancer again. But it was not an easy journey, but I'm glad I did it because I know now what works and what doesn't work for a cancer patient, because it's also a lot of mental, um you have to push yourself. From a spiritual perspective, any disease comes from your, you know from the metaphysical aspect, from the mind. When you're unhappy, when you have trapped emotions, and when you have a lot of stress, it triggers your immune system. And there are now researches on it that your immune system is the greatest defense when it comes to cancer. And chemo and radiation kills your healthy cells and the NK cells. They do not build your immunity. That's a simple logic. So if you think that only chemo and radiation will help you, that's a big myth. It can help you, it can kill the tumor, it can kill the cancer cells, but what is going to build your immunity? It's the food, it's the mindfulness, it's the oxygenation, and it's the way you live your life, the purpose driven life. So in my journey, I started doing it. 4 chemos. I just took four chemos. I told the doctor when I was sitting in a meditation. I don't know. I felt very calm in my body, and I told doctor that I have this intuition the cancer has gone. I said, okay, let's do a PET scan, and actually the cancer stopped, and the cancer was gone. Yeah. So it's that, because I made that relationship with my body through food, and that was the first step. Then, meditating, yoga, and letting go of whatever fear I had of cancer. That was also a major thing. And living in the moment, living absolutely in the moment, enjoying, and forgiveness also helped me, because I was keeping a lot of emotions hidden in me. And I remember very clearly when I went to a naturopath doctor, and all he did was made me sat in the room and was talking one on one. He had a camera, and for 2 hours he just asked me a question, and all I was doing is crying and crying and letting go of those trapped emotions. And that, he told me, now your healing journey starts. And that remained with me for a long time, and I felt very light. And that's how, I wouldn't say no to medicine. It is important at times. An integrative method, an integrative oncology for cancer patients is necessary, because again, I'm telling you, immune system will not, the chemo and radiation will not repair your immune system. So you have to look at alternative things and approaches.
Amazing story. And as I listen to you, I mean, I can just think about all the people out there that are currently going through this, or they have been through it, the protocols, and the I mean, just it's just a mind-blowing, concept. Just to It's hard to get your head around this whole cancer journey, and surviving it is obviously a great, outcome, but many people don't even, make it to that stage, and it's
Yeah.
too late for them. But you've touched on a lot of things, and it's amazing that the correlation or the link is so close between the mental and the physical. That's one. Two, the nutrition and what we get into our system, and our environment, and how it impacts our cells, period, and our, like literally just our vital, operating system, right? And so in your case, first of all, I want to thank you, for sharing, that, because that is personal, but it's the work you do now, and you help people, and there's no one that can help people better than someone that's actually experienced something, because you have from personal expertise. It's not just like you heard it, you read about it, you've been through it, so you know this stuff works and what doesn't, and so on and so forth. But you touch on a lot of things that are real, and there's a lot of, I would say, controversy in a way, but there's a lot to talk about. Let's just be, clear. And the nutrition is the one of the biggest elements that is a lot of talk about right now. There's also, as you said, environments, and then you mentioned alkaline versus acidic. You mentioned oxygen versus not oxygen, and unfortunately, these are all things that we're doing wrong today in this world. We drink bad stuff. We From alcohol, which is, by the way, sugar at its best, and you nailed it right there on the head. That the cancer cells, they thrive on those elements, and sugar is like a fuel for them. As a matter of fact, Dr. Berg, I don't know if you see his stuff. He has said
Yeah. Yeah.
you deprive the body from any sugar, and the cancer cells will not have anything to eat. And you
Yes.
oxygenate or ozone, treatment into the body. The more ozone, on the more ozone is O3 versus O2, right? So it's still oxygen based,
Yeah.
and you have this tremendous amount of force that is destroying those cells. Then basically you're suffocating them, right? Now again, this is not me talking. This is what I've been reading, and through my own journey in terms of discovering health and wellness, and the shows that I do. But certainly it is a mind blowing item. It is eye opener, to a lot of people. And you stated something in the initial, onset of the discussion, was the concept of autoimmune and the system, right? Our system is it's magnificent, right? As
Yes.
as a whole system, right? But the autoimmune system is what makes things happen. But we tend to destroy this early on, and more than ever. I mean, there's a whole world of discussion and work that's being done on nutrition today, and the
Mhm.
types of food that we have, and the types of
Yeah.
things that are the glyphosates, and then you have the pesticides, in all different levels, the
Yeah.
colors that we use in our diets, and from early on, the sugars in every single thing that we have. I mean, the food industry hasn't helped in this aspect a lot, and unfortunately, it is a real fact, and there's a lot of debate, a lot of stuff. I mean, we see recently in the news with Kellogg's and all that. But that's just one example of things. But there is a lot of that. As a matter of fact, I had a show with an autoimmune expert, doctor, and one thing that he had said is that everybody gets cancer cells in their
Yes.
body. And at least if you live about 90 plus years, you're gonna get at least 7 times a cancer phenomena in your body. It's almost a natural process, but your system, your autoimmune system, knows how to deal with it, unless you give it enough environment to thrive, and therefore it takes over, and that's when damage can happen. Of course, it depends when the cancer is. Cells, they can be, fatal. If they hit
Yeah.
the wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
some cancers are worse than others, right? And it is amazing. That is all of us out there are literally in this world. If we live here today, there's a good chance we may be exposed to this particular disease, unless we do exactly the right things. And now, unfortunately for you, you had to go through the process of discovering this before you actually got the healing. But there is a way to prevent this, and I think the work you do now is to hopefully not only help the ones that are already on
Yeah.
the journey, but also maybe even prevent things through your work and through your advocacy that you do now. But one thing is for sure, you also mentioned depression and stress, and it is more knowledge available today on the concept of stress and depression and anxiety and all these things, and the hormonal changes in cortisol levels that are high in the body, that certainly can really give the environment again for. And there has been an actual direct link between stress levels and people who are getting ulcers, and even cancer at stages, different levels, right? And so these are all crazy things that, when you like, as you said, early on, these discussions were not available as much as they are. Unfortunately, unless, and you mentioned something very also deep, that you went to a lot of doctors, but nobody's touching on your lifestyle and your nutrition and stuff. And that's actually a fact. I mean, very few doctors will actually, well, how's your diet? What do you eat? What do you do? I mean, I haven't seen one personally that does that. You know, that is really like in their surveys, that they tell you, like, do you eat this? Do you eat that? Do you eat it? Maybe if
Yeah.
you're diabetic, right? They'll start talking about all
Yeah.
your carbs and stuff. But if you haven't been diagnosed with diabetes, there's a good chance they might not. Maybe if you have, I don't know, an ulcer, or maybe digestive, they might talk about stuff. But there's also a lot of discussion about gut, health, and being the second brain, and where the majority of your system is in your gut. And we've done a good job by destroying this through the nutrition stuff that we have. And again, processed food. You mentioned the word processed food and ultra processed food. I mean, they're all over us. I mean, you go to, so I was watching someone the other day, and it was funny because he said the stores have an aisle that says healthy food aisle. Like, what does that mean for the rest of the store? And when you think about it, right? I mean, you don't think about this stuff, folks. If you're watching or listening, I mean, just get this, grab this concept. You walk into a store and it says healthy food section. What does that mean? I mean, the rest of it is not healthy. So why would you buy even that? But we're all guilty. We all buy this stuff because we kind of almost have been, hypnotized that this is food. I call it edible ingredients, but that's about it. But they're not really nutritious ingredients, and that's really what we do. Heavy sugars, heavy, colors and chemicals,
Preservatives, additives.
all the bad stuff for
Yeah.
you, right? All the negative stuff that is that once you, it's like basically we're treating this as a dump our bodies, and we dump all this stuff, and we hope that the body's going to do a good job. Now, overall, it does, but if you don't have the right warriors and soldiers in the body to do the stuff, it's not going to happen. But you mentioned a lot of things that actually you've used to really defeat this. It was not just, it was the yoga, the meditation. It was, so you treated it from a complete holistic as your approach is.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
everything, from natural naturopathic, approach to the yoga concept, which is a lot of body movement and stretching and
Yeah.
getting the body nice and a good, no tense. So you kind of did the mental, the physical, the whole nine. I mean, and I love what you said, even about those sessions where you had to just let it go, get rid of all that negative vibe and energy that you had through stressed emotions, right? And by the way, that's all of us. Work does stress. The world that we live in has stress. I mean, you look at the news and you're already stressed. You don't even have to do anything. That's not even including your personal life, right?
I don't even see news these days. Like I've stopped looking at news.
Well, I guarantee you, at the time you did, right? You
Yeah.
didn't.
At that time, yes, of course. You don't understand. You're not mindful about all these things.
Well, again, that's why we do this work, right? Hopefully, we can share with people. Now, someone's like, "Oh, you guys, like, you just giving us doomsday, news." Folks, this is the real stuff. I mean, if you live, there is someone that is close to you that has been diagnosed, or will probably be like, listen, I lost my dad to cancer. I lost my ex-wife to cancer. I've had friends who actually had, cancer. Some made it, some didn't make it. So I can tell you, it is as real as it gets.
Yeah.
There's no age limit. That's the other thing. It's not for the elderly. It's not for the youth. It could be anybody. And the incidence of it is higher because of all the elements that you mentioned: alkaline environments, less oxygen, bad food, bad nutrition, less activity. We're, literally doing less and less. We're not burning. You talked about sugar. Yes, you can help by burning sugar, but certainly you don't help if you don't do anything and you just sit and eating and you munching and taking stuff. Plus, there's a lot of stressors,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
just got through a pandemic. So thank you. I mean, I just kind of touch on a few things that you've covered there, and these are all real things. And anyone that is actually mindful and aware of their health and at least wants a better health, and can, again, the bottom line is we're on the health radio and channel. The fact is we want people to be healthier and well and live a life of vitality, and you cannot do that unless you make changes, and lifestyle is the key. And I think you have almost described what that looks like for us. We need to do all of the above. You can't just do one versus the other. And I love what you said. You did take the route of chemo because you needed to, but you also said clearly, and I think people have to get this note very, focus on it. That is, it will kill all cells, the good and the bad, equally. It does not discriminate between, like, healthy
Yeah.
tissue versus
Yeah. Yeah.
cancerous tissue. And so unless you do what it takes to kind of almost override, that those cells, that the chemo, treatment into the good cells, you're going to have damage that can be also detrimental. So, and by the way, I've had, folks that told me that more people die of the chemo outcomes than the actual cancer itself because of the.
Absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. You're right.
So let's talk more about, like, now that you've done this and you got through your journey and you healed, which is, by the way, that's amazing that you said, like, you felt that your body was not, and everybody knows their body. You're right.
Absolutely.
When your body is not right, something is
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. And it's so important to, I'm saying, that's what I know. You just need to just give your in a day, just take a few deep breaths and really see which body part is in stress, or where are you in your body, like really where are you in your body, and make this relationship and love your body and love, we always see body from a very physical perspective. Oh, I have this fat arms, or I don't have a flat belly, or we just try and criticize our physical body, but really the internal health is what really matters more than your external, because that will show you if you're not losing weight, there must be something internally wrong. Like I always, like, a lot of people come to me for weight loss, and I have to look into the, see, if you are eating healthy, if you are living a good healthier, sustainable life, the weight loss is just a byproduct of it. You will live, like I, from the time I have changed my lifestyle, my weight is consistent. I'm not even bothered about weight gain or weight loss. You know, people say, "Oh, you must I have this much protein with this, then this time." But to be very honest, these are all these jargons going on, and you need to do this. Just keep it very simple. You know, I think health should be simple, and it should be like people have to put so much of effort of eating healthy these days, right? Oh, I don't have time, I don't have this much at this, I only have an hour in the kitchen, how do I make things? It doesn't mean that you go, I mean, it's very easy for them to pick up the pizza pie and just vomit and give it to the kids and eat, but you are harming your health in that way. You know, when you make food, when you really use your hands, you know, we have five elements in our hand according to Ayurveda: the earth, water, fire, ether, and air. So we, when we use our hands, we stimulate our senses when we cook and when we eat, and when we sit down without any external disturbances, without the TV and all, we make this relationship with the food. The digestion starts with your mouth when you chew the food properly. A lot of people chew very, very, very fast, and they don't mix the saliva, and it doesn't go properly, it doesn't break down the food. So, you know, these simple things you don't, like in India, we sit down and eat cross-legged. And why we sit down? Because when you bend, you know, you kind of, when you sit like this, you tend to overeat a lot. When you sit down, the digestive system and the digestive juices actually stimulate more. And we never eat without, with our hands. And the TV was never there. Now, of course, the TV and the television, all the chatter, the cell phone has started coming in on the tables, but it was never there. And we were like, it was a community, you know, we were, and silent eating sometimes also helps when you're concentrating on your food. Most of the people, when I talk to these professionals, I always ask them, how are you eating your meal? Tell me, and how much time do you take? They only finish the entire meal in 5 minutes because they don't have time. So we're just overcomplicating our life. You know, the goal should, if your goal is living healthy, you will do possible things, all the possible things, and it will become like a lifestyle. For me, it doesn't take time to get up in the morning and get my lemon juice or like a water versus my coffee. People are so addicted to coffees in the morning here in United States, and not understanding that you're putting the first thing in your mouth is this acidic water. Though you want to wake up, but there are other things you could do. An apple is equivalent, and if you eat an apple, it just produces enough stimulation for your brain to wake up. So you, there are natural resources. You just have to be mindful of these things, that okay, you know, my, if my goal is to live healthy and a long life and disease free life, I will not compromise on XYZ things. I will not compromise on this. And that's how I started. I'm cancer free since 7 years. I refused radiation. I actually want to tell the audience, because when I went to the doctors and they told me, now you have to take radiation. I said, why? My med says it's 99% resolution. Why should I take radiation? So it's just a protocol. I said, okay, will you guarantee that if I take radiation, I will never get cancer again? And they said, no, there's no guarantees in the treatment. So I said, if there's no guarantee in the treatment, let me go the natural way. Let me just heal myself, because there's too much chemo. Even small doses of chemo really rupture your body. So I said, okay, I'm going to take a break, and if something happens, I'm going to come back to you. I will do my tests. I will do my blood test and all whatever scans you tell me to do, but I'm not taking radiation. So they said, you're doing a mistake and all that. Well, they started to, of course, make me fearful, but I was very confident that I'm going to get okay. And so I was a little too daring. I would say, not people are. But I question, and I really made this choice that whatever it is my responsibility. My health is in my own hands first. So Then I started detoxing. Detoxing, I already also want to touch a very important point for cancer patients who are going with the treatments. After the treatments, the doctors are just going to tell you to go away, but that's where the real work starts. You have to uptake your immune system. You have to detox that poison which you have put in your body with chemo and radiation. You have to let go. Plus, you have to build your immune system. You have to get that micros and macros back in your gut and in your body. So building your gut is extremely important. So, and hormones get, when you do chemo, especially with women, their menses stop. They don't have menstruation, and so did my menstruation stop. And the doctor were like, we don't know whether it'll come back or not. If you're lucky, it will. But in 6 months times, I got my menstruation back because I was very determined. I did all the things, detoxed my entire body for 3 months. I was on a very strict diet, and I was very, very disciplined. I led a very disciplined life for 1 2 years after the treatments. And that's how I got better and got confident. And I really want to press this point on detoxing. It's very important because environment toxins, you can't control the environment, but you can control your inner environment, your body. And you need to make it strong because now, you know uh, if you see, if you get the statistics, 1700 people die of cancer in United States daily, every day. Can you imagine the figure? And second most reason of death is cancer. First is heart diseases, second is cancer. But it is shocking, and more people, younger people, are getting diagnosed with cancers because the environment, and also what the nutrition their mother and father, and in the conceive, when what the mother is taking, it's the actually that nutrition starts from there onwards for the child. So, we have to be mindful if you really want to live a healthy life these days. And it's not like a rocket science. You just have to do simple things and make sure that you're detoxing your body. So these few things I would say, stress upon the detox part a lot, because in my practice, I've seen cancer patients, fourth stage cancer patient, who were not even given enough time. Now they're living a very thriving life, and their doctors are also surprised how they are doing. And you know they it's important. I feel chemo and radiation is not the answer, really. If people are only going to the doctors and listening to them, they are just living in a bubble, or they are too lazy to look outside their window and see what's going on.
Well, thank you. And you touch it on the holistic world, right? And the real resilience of humans, and really doing the work yourself. Because you're right. I mean, the standard, that we know is that you go to a doctor, you get a diagnosis, and the practical stuff is that you got to start chemo. That's the only way out, or radiation therapy, both which can be very, very, difficult and tasking on the body, and ultimately can have more damage than stuff. Now, someone can say, well, no, they do destroy, but again, they destroy everything. So, you and your body, if your body's already weak enough, there's a good chance you're not going to make it. And I know, again, I mentioned my ex-wife, and she died because the chemo was just too much, and she couldn't, her body could not take it, right? So ultimately, that was it. So I can relate to this, directly, and
How
it's
old was she? I feel she was very young.
she was, yeah, 40.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, so it's not, it's very young age to go, but it is what it is, right? But uh, but this is why this is important. Like, people don't have to go through this. They don't have to suffer. And for those even that make it through, the journey is brutal, and there's so much, downtime. There's so much, hurt and
Yeah.
pain that they have to go through, which they shouldn't. Now, again, there's two phases here. I mean, there's two things. There's starting fresh from start, since day one, and do it right. So for those people that are early on in their lives, and maybe they have a shot of never even the building a good immune system from the scratch, and their kids can have all that stuff, their lifestyles are already advanced in a healthier environment, But that's like I would say the smaller percentage, because the way it is, our culture now has become what it is today, and it's very difficult. As you said, all our lifestyle is almost the other way around, which means we eat fast, we do stuff wrong, we are not taking the time to even munch and chew our stuff, because really that's what it is. I mean, how many of us? Listen, I can tell you, I've done a lot of work in the corporate, and you're working between meetings. You're actually eating in meetings. You don't even know what you're eating. You just kind of swallow the stuff. You feel the gut, and that's all there is. And chances are, it's ordered food. It's not fresh food. You don't even know what's in that food. There's a lot of sodium. There's a lot of stuff, but you just fill in the blank because you just need to eat, right? And that's the problem. We do things because society has kind of made it cool. And it's funny because we are almost hypnotized through movies and stuff, because that's what we see in the movies. So it's like it's a cool thing. It looks like it's the way to do it, but it's not. And certainly we just get almost programmed to do the same things, and you don't know where that helps you, or where that hurts you, until you get to a stage where it's like it could be too late. Now,
Yeah,
some people may have the opportunity to survive, but many don't. And again, someone can say, well, time's up, time's up. We all have a time to go. Whether it's true, the question is, can you prevent that, or can you not prevent it? I mean, that's the thing. Like, the choices are still ours. I mean, we gotta go, but do we want to go
absolutely.
this way or the other way, right? And you mentioned something very important about how we do things, like the sit-in, the cultural stuff. I mean, even just between us and Europe, there's a big difference. Between us and I was at the Asian, cultures, there's a big
Japanese, yeah.
difference. The whole from the food concept, from the meals, how they operate, from the culture itself, and the types of ingredients and things. There's a lot more natural stuff that's
Yeah.
involved. Less eating out, more eating home. Sleeping longer, taking siestas, for example, on breaks, not going crazy, working overload hours, and as you said, no TV maybe while you're having a meal. And by the way, even psychologically speaking, this is since the inception of phones and stuff. There has been a lot more mental health and health, illnesses that are almost related, and there are studies, in that field that can, confirm these things, right? So it is very difficult, but I do want to go to, because you said something very interesting that could be a very debatable discussion. The idea that you had a vegan or vegetarian, upbringing. Most people will say if you're a vegetarian, you're healthier, right? That you're already doing the right thing. Now, when you said that kind of like, because that's a big debate between vegan and carnivore diets, right? And all the stuff. Now, you said it. You were doing. I mean, everybody would have thought that you would be like the best, because you've had all the
Yeah,
vegetarian stuff. You don't have any, bad stuff, no meat, no nothing. But that wasn't the case, because there's more things than just the food, as you said. There's everything else that we kind of less think about.
absolutely.
So that's funny, because when you said that, it kind of hit my mind. Like, that's a big debate between, like, do I go vegetarian? Do I go carnivore? Do I do a mix? Again, I personally do, I eat both, and just how you healthy mix things, and try. But even that, like, there's organic, non-organic. There's a real organic. There's a so-called organic, right? What's organic
Yeah,
today? I mean, you
yeah,
you you almost have to dig in on every single item that you purchase today. even
absolutely.
even the vegetarian stuff, or the vegetables and legumes that you buy,
Yeah,
they may still be dangerously, pesticides, galore, and heavy, and so therefore you can still have a problem. So it's a lot of this, and I love what you said is the work you've done. It's really, you took the time, and many people may not. They think that they just need to follow the protocols. You also challenge the system. You're
mm,
going to do radiation. No, I'm not going to do radiation. Why? Is it going to, and by the way, no doctor will ever guarantee anything, because there is a level of liability if they guarantee it, and they will never put it in writing, because again, there's just malpractice and all these things that are low, especially in the States, and so you challenged the status quo there, and you did your thing, and it worked. But again, you went over, like, you talked about detoxification of the body, and that's not overnight. That's months and months, if not years. And by the way, detoxification should be part of our protocols. I mean,
absolutely. I
like we say,
still do it. I still
well,
do it.
well,
Yeah,
well, we have, like, the end, like exercise, nutrition, and detoxification should be all together. It's not one or the other. And if you do, you're better off. Now, again, it's talk. Right now, we have it a talk, but really, you got to practice these things. Um, now, you said you have people who are stage four. Now, stage four, usually it's like, there's no, that's a point of no return, or for 90% of the time, if not more. But you've experienced, people that are gotten to that point, and were able to reverse, the whole thing. That is amazing. And so was that through the same practice, like basically, you get into the
Yeah,
immune system?
this my first ever, like, I started working with this woman who had a relapse, ovarian cancer relapse. I mean, relapse, can you imagine? It is more dangerous than the first diagnosis because um, it's like the cancer returns 2x times, if I would say in simpler language. And ovarian cancer is, anyways, very, very difficult. So this lady, she was in her late 50s. I started working with her, and I asked her, what did you do after the initial round of chemo? And she had went through a surgery, and she was taking HRT, like hormone replacement therapy. So I asked her, what did you do? She didn't change her diet after that. The doctors were not didn't give her any prescription of diet. She was not also taking supplements. She didn't detox. So I said, okay, now if you are having relapse, you say you do whatever the chemos. And she was also advised for another round of surgery. So I said, okay, give me some time. Let's start working on your diet and your mental health. And I it was COVID time, and I started working with her on her mental levels, plus supplementation, plus doing breath work, and really told her to do pranayams, the yogic breathing practices at least twice a day to oxygenate herself and stuff. And in 6 months time, like, when she went again to the doctor, said, what did you do, tell me, because now you don't need a surgery. And she was like, just so happy with all things. But she was pretty much, and that we started detoxing also. In between, I couldn't do the entire protocol, but after her treatment was over, I started doing we I practiced around 7 to 8 detoxes with her, from lymphatics to heavy metal. We also found some heavy metals in her blood. We found she had thyroid issues from before, and she had low iron levels. So we started looking from a functional point of view. Vitamin D levels we brought into certain level. Now, very lot of people don't understand that vitamin D is so crucial. And when I got diagnosed with cancer, my vitamin D level were like 12 or 13. I remember they were so low, and the doctors didn't like look into it. I had to like understand that cancer and vitamin D is so related. So please go out in the sun, everyone. That's a extremely important thing to do. So, for with that patient, she still, touchwood, is doing so well. But she was very persistent. She was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, and I don't want this cancer again. And she's living a very beautiful life. Her daughter's getting married now. um and I salute to her, brave, like, her authenticity. And she was saying that, whatever she said, that I'm like, I want to get rid of the emotion. She was also very stressed because there was something happened in her family, so that made the cancer return. So that's what, her immune system was not able to cope up. I mean, that's, and the doctors do not tell you how to build your immune system after the chemo and radiation. This is very important to know, that we have to build our immunity and we have to take care of it in order to prevent relapse. Because I was very concerned. I had this fear of relapse myself, and it's very, it's dangerous. Like, it's anything happened. I said, I had cancer around my neck, and some sensation. I used to think, oh, is the cancer come back? Is the cancer come back? And it takes time, for because it's like a trauma. When you go to the doctors, you get the treatments done and everything, it's a trauma for the body. In order to get rid of the trauma, you have to start living in the present, and you have to let go of the fear, and you have to work mentally on it. So all of these things, it's not easy. But then, if the patient is ready and to become a student, and I always say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So that's the concept is. And right now we're working with lung cancer patient. Her meds came down, and I was so happy with her, because she was suffering from 3-4 years. And now, after the detoxes, the doctors also said that, oh wow, it's a very good progress. With breast cancer patients, we've seen people almost dying, their quality of life have improved. uh, I mean, it's a miracle, like really, like nutrition, detoxing, living the natural lives. It's just a miracle. You will get results. The only thing is you have to have faith.
Well, thank you. And so you mentioned a couple of things that are key here to also kind of highlight. One is hormonal stuff, and two, like for example, you meant heavy metals, right? And also lack of certain ingredients to our body, such as vitamin D and iron, right? And these are all again, things that are unfortunately our food, is not where it needs to be in those qualities. Even our brains have been marketed, in a way that, for example, you need SPF 100 so you don't get any sun rays on your skin, right? It's that kind of concept. Yet in reality, we need to get the sun. And by the way, it is a fact that in the northern hemisphere and probably in the U.S., you know, majority of people have some sort of a vitamin D deficiency, and that's one of the biggest things because the way it regulates hormones and all the stuff. And so it is. I think, and anybody, you can check out some other episodes, or you can certainly just do your own due diligence and research, and in terms of what vitamin D is and how it really benefits the body and what levels you need. We just need a lot of it. And by the way, I think I was impressed one time by reading this thing, and I get impressed easily with these things because there's stuff that's new to me, and I'm like, wow, who knew, right? But someone said very simply that if we have all the minerals and nutrients and the vitamins that the body actually takes or requires, no disease will actually touch your body. And the problem is we're not even getting a percentage of what we need on a day-to-day basis value. And those caloric and values that we have on those labels, they're just not what we need, in reality. So
Yeah,
as like it's north of 60 plus, minerals and vitamins that you need on a day-to-day basis, and they all have different functions, and they're all kind of tied together. Magnesium is one,
yeah,
potassium, all these things, iron, copper, a lot of stuff that we don't even hear about in common stuff is really needed in our body. And that's because that's what happens. Our hormones are out of whack, our systems are not working, and so yeah, the body can resist to a degree, but there's a point where it kind of, that's where we have all these other problems that happen from, you know uh thyroid issues to, I don't know, all kind of stuff, bone
heart
issues.
problems. I feel is like very prevalent. Almost 90% of the U.S. population has gut issues, which, according to Hippocrates, according to Ayurveda, 90% of the diseases happen in your gut. I feel a lot of people, when I talk to people here, constipated, most of them are constipated. They don't even know they are constipated. Even if you're going to the loo, and if you know that we analyze, we it's a little yucky thing, but we tell them to identify the kind of color of the poop and what is the shape of your poop. It should be like a proper S shape. It should sink down. All of these things really matter on a daily basis. You should look into them in your uh, yeah,
There's not no shame. I mean, thank you for because you're right. Like, these are signs, right? I mean, we're looking
right.
for
Yeah,
signs. Uh,
yeah,
but it takes knowledge, right? I mean, as you said, if
exactly.
no one talks about them, no one will know about them, right? They'll be
Exactly.
like, because
Yeah,
you're like, who the hell wants to do that, right? But it's a dirty job, but somebody needs to do it, and I
yeah.
think we all need to do it.
Yeah, no, because I've suffered. I was constipated. I didn't know. I was dehydrated. I didn't know. First thing in the morning, I used to drink tea, which was like being away from like the before cancer. My morning started with the tea, and I was like, it used to give me so much satisfaction, not knowing that I'm harming my gut. And so all of these things I've learned the hard way, and it shouldn't be the hard way. It should be just. I'm glad we are talking about it, and I hope people get some knowledge and start taking at least two changes, three changes. Because it's a very difference. I almost consult people around the world. Like I have clients here, and I do one-on-one here in New York. I see almost everyone having gut issues. Almost everyone. And if you repair the gut, you start like I'm working with a couple right now. They don't sleep at all. Like they only hardly get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. The husband is diabetic. The woman has weight issues and stuff. Just working for a week with them, they've lost some pounds. Their sleep has gotten better. Their gut is becoming much better. So I'm saying, you need to do the work, and it's just a few days of work which you have to be consistent on, and you'll see the results. It's amazing how our body starts healing and repairing, it provided you do the right things.
Well, again, you touch on sleep, for example. That's a big one, right? And
Yeah,
again, we have been almost conditioned and like, oh, I mean, mostly we hear you need 7 to 8 hours, but the question, do you really get 7 to 8 hours, and whether you do the right thing before you go to sleep? And most of us sleep with their phones in their hands and the
yeah,
TV on. So you got all
absolutely.
that Blu-ray business coming in, and you're just way, all your system is like fired up. You're not going to go to sleep right away, so you miss those things. And there's also discussions about, and you touched on something earlier about getting in touch with earth, and with the senses. I mean, earthing is another thing. Being up in some early hours versus 9 o'clock in the morning. By the way, it is the hardest thing to do, to wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
But it is, when you do, it's like the better life is ahead of you. You're energized better than most, right? And but these are things, as you said, it takes practice, it takes guidance. Many of
yeah,
us have
yeah,
been conditioned otherwise, right?
yeah,
So, and then even you work, like you got to work at 9, so you get up, whatever, 7, 8, and then you just go to work because you want to get enough sleep, and then you
yeah,
come in, you probably work late and watch TV until a later hour. And a lot of us have that same routine. And you add things one on top of the other. I love what you said. Everybody's in this world is kind. I mean, technically, if we eat, we're supposed to go. You're not supposed to be like 3, 4 days before you go, and you're supposed to go frequently. And so, and as you said, these are things that just like that's a first sign, right? And that just shows that the ingredients we eat are not good. And they say whole diet. I mean, whole diet is a good one, but what does that mean? What grains do you need? I mean, is it's the right stuff
yeah,
organic? So, I mean, we can touch on a lot of stuff from here, but the biggest picture here is that we need to make shifts in our lifestyles. We need to do all the above. It's not one thing, not the other. We have to do detoxification. We have to do the breathing. We have to oxygenate our body. We have to get rid of all the acidic, beverages and stuff like that. And look, sodas and all the stuff. It's really. I mean, you drink soda. I mean, Coke, for example, right? Uh, you know, it can clean pipes. What do you think it's gonna do to your gut? I mean, just a question for
yeah,
us, right? I mean, and sad, we see this stuff. I mean, it's not a secret. We all kind of, probably everybody watching and listening, have seen some sort of reel about Coke and the benefit of Coke, other than beverage, right? And so yet we tend to like still like it because it's a good kick. It tastes good. Well, yeah, taste is one thing. I mean, poison can taste good too. If I put sugar in it, it's gonna taste good, but it will kill you, right? But that's
yeah.
really, it's exactly. It's like it's a cool poison that we have. I mean, you read ingredients on boxes today on labels. You got 60 ingredients. I mean, it says one thing, but you have 60. What can possibly be in 60 ingredients that is,
You don't
naturally?
even know the names. Like it'll start from something ESOV, E54, some sort of a thing, and it's just what I like to do is like I if I can't understand the ingredients, I won't pick up that stuff. It's hard to do that, but I try at least understanding the ingredients, read the labels, and now there are apps to do it. You just go on Google, and it's so easy to understand those ingredients. Just to take some time, take some time to refill the kitchen things. And a lot of people also use toxic, since we are
Mhm.
talking about toxic vessels, like they cook in these Teflon coatings,
Oh yes.
and don't use, like if you use iron to cook uh, spinach, for example, and you put like a lot of lemon on it, so it enhances the vitamin C, it enhances the iron absorption in your gut because you're cooking in an iron vessel. When you're doing Teflon, and Teflon just basically, it's carcinogenic. A lot of people don't know it's cancer causing agent. You drink out of plastic, which is extremely again, it is the worst thing you can do for your gut. Small particles of plastic will get, like, now we've seen researches showing the baby when she's born, they have microplastics in their gut. So we have to stop. Like I always tell people that, I know it's, when you're traveling, it's easy to carry a plastic bottle versus a steel bottle. Just again, it's all about your health. What do you want to do? the styrofoam cups where you get those coffee, when you take the Starbucks coffee or any coffee, that's also plastic actually.
Yeah, the
I've
coating in there, yeah.
I've actually started carrying my own cup. These are like, also you have to be mindful of it, people say we have to live in this world, we can't let go of everything, so whatever you can do, start from today, and it'll automatically shift, when you're if your focus is health, and if your focus is longevity, and if your focus is to live a medication free life, you will do the things. It's just a You're just giving yourself an excuse. Oh, I have to live this. Oh, this is easy, or this is hard. Nothing is hard. It's just in your mind. It's just a mindset change. Yeah.
I'm listening to you. I'm laughing because since I've done this work, I've changed a lot of stuff in our life. My kids are like, anti me because every day I'm sending them reels and this. I literally, I can show you the phone. Like every time I see something, I'm just trying to give them enough so they can at least get a scare or fear, and so they can make some changes. But the more I do, the more you almost kind of like shrinking all the types of things you can buy from the street. Literally, like there's like now I don't eat outside, for the most part, unless it's kind of home cooking kind of situation, a restaurant type. But even that, like no food, like that is express food or fast food kind of concept. So and by the way, listen, everybody's has heard about like the worst foods out there. I mean, from the food chains, the fast food chains, all of them. I have an experiment right now that I just I'm actually I post this. I've been talking about it. It's ready to go. I actually kept a Whopper Junior in the fridge, for over 4 months. Still good. Still looks good.
Really?
It still looks good. Yeah. I mean, you can tell it's old, but literally the bun looks still the same. The meat still looks the same. The vegetables look a little bit, kind of, losing their value. But how can possibly a burger live for? I don't care fridge or no fridge. You put anything else that's organic, it's gonna die after a week.
Yeah.
4 months and it looks like it's ready to eat today. I mean, it's
Oh,
that
wow.
crazy. And I mean, because like you hear things you don't you want to like prove something, you want to experiment. And I
Yeah.
just it's a simple thing. Anybody watching, listen, do it. Go buy one, put it in the fridge, and leave it there for a few months and open it up. It's not gonna go bad. Even a hot
Wow.
dog. I took a hot dog. It took 2 months before it went bad. So that's like the stuff. I mean, if that goes in your body, what do you think it's gonna do? I mean, there is no chance that that thing is gonna do anything good by destroying something in there. And you're right. Where does it go? Digestive, guts, and so it just basically gonna destroy it. And again, you have color in all these drinks, and even if you want to, like you mentioned weight loss, right? And you drinking calories left and right with all these sugary drinks, right? Besides, I mean, again, you're talking about plastic. Everything around us is plastic. You drink in plastic, the straws are plastic, even the paper plastic, the paper straws as they call them, they're still not paper because they have again a coating to not
Yeah.
to be destroyed. So that's the thing. Like what we, someone says, oh, it's a plastic cup. I mean, it's a foam cup or a cardboard cup. But yeah, but there is an actual coating of a waxy substance that keeps the thing not destroying or seeping through. Therefore, you're drinking that stuff. As a matter of fact, if it's hot enough, that stuff will come right on top of that water or whatever you're drinking. And that's just, and by the way, that's visible. Now imagine the microscopic stuff. That's big. I mean, I've read that we have an average in life about a credit card worth of plastics in our systems right now. I mean, think about a
True.
credit card that is in your body stream right now, like in particles that is all over. They found stuff in the brains. It is crazy, but you're right. It's not, yeah, society is what it is, but we are members of society, and if we start changing each one of us slowly and making the necessary changes, I think we'll drive industries to also shift, and
Absolutely.
switch things around. But as long as we're consuming, it's profitable enough, they're going to do it. I mean, we've talked about this in different shows about sustainability. I mean, even business owners, folks. I mean, if you know something is going to be harmful and you're just
Yeah.
looking for profitability, there's ways to do this, the right way and consciously being sustainable and healthier. Yeah, it may cost a little bit more, but I think overall it will be a better outcome, and you can promote this. It will be even will serve you well as a marketing concept. Hey, we give you organic, healthier stuff. Yes, but now we've seen that a concept in, let's say, the Whole Foods, right? But even within that, over time, that got diluted too, because there's different things that are sold that may not be as, organic 100% as they should be. But again, it is we have to shift a lot of things, but it starts with individuals, and
Absolutely.
that's us one on one. Whoever's watching and listening, you can do things in your world and limit your exposure to all these things. Now, Shruti, I want to ask you one thing about exercise. What is your take on exercise, and what kind of exercise? I mean, I know you mentioned yoga and things, but that could fall into the concept of exercise. But like, what's necessary to also help you know keep the body healthier?
Yeah. So as humans, we are not meant to sit at one place, and that's what we are trying. This sitting has become another smoking. We have to move from the moment we get up in the morning. We need to really stretch. When you see animals, for example, when they get up, see a dog stretch or any other animal stretch. It's a natural phenomenon. They stretch. And what do we do? The first thing in the morning, we just try and go to our phones and try and see who's messaged and everything. Like we all of a sudden come in this flight and fight mode. What exercise does, of course, is another when you move, when you really use your muscles, it also starts to break down. And I feel when you exercise, you also absorb the nutrients well, because when you sweat, you're detoxing again. And importantly for cancer patient is that there's a lot of lactic acid buildup when you get up in the morning. All your joints will have lactic acid, so you need to dismantle that. And yoga will really help in that. Yoga will also, it's basically yoga. It's called yog, actually, not yoga. Yoga is a Western term. So yog is a connection of your mind, body, and spirit or soul. And when you, it's just not asanas, it's just doing certain poses. But when you perform those asanas and exercises with a mindful, like the breathing, it enhances your lungs, it increases the capacity of your lungs. Plus when you're stretching and twisting, it also, when you're stretching and you're doing some twists, it twists your intestines, it detoxes the toxic materials. When you do certain pranayamas, the breathing patterns, it, of course, again, the oxygen capacity improves by 17% when you do pranayama. Extremely important for anybody, because we're not breathing. When I see clients, they don't not even breathing properly. When you're inhaling, they're actually taking the stomach inside, versus when you inhale, it should bloat like a balloon. So when you are exercising, right, it can be anything. You can just start going to the gym, or you like weight training, or weight training is again quite apt these days. We should, when you cross 40, you lose a lot of muscle mass. When it comes to cancer patient, we obviously, they don't have the strength to do. Another very very big myth is that they are asked to do a lot of weight training, but they don't have the capacity to go to the gym. I would say start with yoga or yoga, and build your strength. When you do certain Surya Namaskar, like sun salutations, just that's the entire workout, because you go in the planks and you go in the downward dog, you do certain movements where the joints get stimulated, your lungs get stimulated, even your each muscle gets stimulated. So it's like a science based. Yoga is nothing but a science. So exercise, a lot of people are living sedentary lifestyle. When you when you eat food and you think, all of a sudden, any food you eat, or carbs especially, your glucose spikes up. So if you're sitting for a long time and you're not moving, you will tend to get insulin resistance over time, and which is important. So I know when people who are working at office and all, I said stand and work, maybe, or just take a one round around the block, and just do some sort of movement. Just go for a walk for 5 minutes. This will improve the insulin resistance. This will make sure that you don't have those high glucose spikes. So exercise will bring that down. Um, So many benefits of exercising, right? People think that we only do once a week exercise is not enough. You need to move, you need to, and mindful exercise. People say, oh, we walk a lot. But when you're walking, your brain is not in synchronicity, your breath is not in synchronicity. When you take out the time and really, uh, synchronize your body with your mind and brain and soul or whatever you can say, the effects are much more better, and you get faster results when you use your breath, the prana part with while exercising. So exercises, again, extremely for cancer, for to prevent cancer. I think it should be one of the one should look for it. Like one should do any movements at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes in a day. Can Pilates, can be weight training, can be yoga, anything which you how you like it.
Well, thank you. So I love it because you've touched on also. It's any type of movement and exercise. Just don't sit, and expect things to be better, right? You got to have movement. Actually, I love what you said about animals. I have cats, and the first thing they do every time they get up, they just stretch the front and the back and they walk. And you know what? It should be, I mean, I've been in the martial arts space, and that's the first thing we do. We kind of warm up and stretch, up front before we even get into the real stuff, right? You got to do that part of your, initial, body conditioning, right? And you mentioned something quickly, earlier about intermittent fasting and just, giving your body time to just kind of get rid of all the bad stuff and basically detoxification. And there's a lot of ways to do intermittent, but you're right. I mean, you can do it if you and your food day intake early on, and you wait until the next morning later on. Then you have enough hours where the body and the liver get to work without too much
Yeah.
pressure and get a good outcome for the body, and so it's ready to accept the next a group. Hopefully it's healthier, organic, and less problematic, but at least it's solid, so now we can start from scratch, and it's not like it's already overwhelmed and it's working double gear and it's not going to do it. It's like a one of those automatic transmission that is slipping, right? We want it to be fully functional.
Yeah, and it's important. See, if I would say this is a thumb rule. If you're in your 30s, have 3 hours gap between your sleep and your meal. If you're in your 40s, you should have 4 hours gap between your meal and your sleep, so that the body is prepared. And when you sleep, the focus is only on sleep, right? Not on the digestive process, because digestion takes a lot of energy. 70-80% of the entire energy goes in a digestion. So you want to basically keep that distance between the sleep and the food, so that you sleep better. I've seen a lot of improvements in the sleep when they have this gap. Some people will argue, oh, I feel a lot of hungry when I start these intermittent fasting, or when I have a lot of gaps. So just start small, space it up, like slowly and slowly. Don't do all of a sudden. It takes time for the body to shift in certain aspects, but it has its benefits for sure from Ayurvedic perspective. My grandmom, she's in her 80s, and she always has practiced um, eating before sunset, and she is absolutely healthy, and she's like, she has no diseases, touch wood. So I always take inspiration from her lifestyle, such a simple lifestyle, always eating before sunset, not drinking a lot of water after sunset. That's also important, because if you are if you drink a lot of water and you have to go to the loo at night, that disturbs your sleep as well. So do not, and you don't hydrate the most when you are at night. Most, the drinking, if you're drinking water, first of all, don't over drink, because we tend to, some people like, oh, we need to drink a lot of water, we need to drink a lot of water, but sometimes over hydration is also a problem. And if you are working a lot, say you're exercising, I would say take a pinch of salt, put it in your water, and you need electrolytes. So you should also have some sort of salt. A lot of people in US are iodine deficient. Most of the people are iodine deficient. So keep that electrolytes level also optimal. It's also important.
Again, we can spend a whole hour on just hydration and stuff, but you're right. These are all important factors.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're right. If you prepare yourself to some sort of level of fasting, even your stomach eventually gets accustomed to it, and it's not going to require a lot of food because it's kind of like now shrunk a
Yeah.
little bit, like
Yeah.
everything else, right? So it's a work in progress, folks. Nothing that we're talking about is something you have to do overnight, because if you did it, you won't be able to do it. It's just not going to be too much resistance, and your body's going to scream. You gotta like introduce these shifts slowly but surely, and in time it'll be just habits, and you do it and you feel better, and you just like, oh, I can never go back. And of course, you sometimes people cheat and stuff, but you got to do this correctly. And again, slow changes, one step at a time, add a little bit more, and that's it. All right, so I know we've exceeded our hour, but let's talk
Oh,
quickly
yeah.
about I know time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
But well, let's talk about Awaana Health and the work you do, and how do you work with people? Is it? I mean, I know you mentioned like you talk one on one stuff, but is it a clinical setting? Is it a remotely? How does that work? And how people also can connect with you?
Yeah. So Awaana Health is an online platform. I am working on one-on-one, but I'm here in Bayside, New York, and also work with from Brooklyn, Williamsburg. But online works pretty well, and I have an entire team, and we kind of help people with all chronic issues, be it hormonal, be it infertility, be it any gut problems, weight loss, weight gain. I'm okay. I mean, people come to me, but I'm not very. I feel that I want to dig into deeper into their gut health, so I would put that into the gut. Cancer, of course, and that's we give a complete 360-degree approach, mental, physical, emotional, all of these support systems. We have a group setting also where once a week all my all the clients and all the patients would come together. We would meditate, we would understand what's going wrong, and I would always pick up a topic and we'll do breath work and do all sorts of um metaphysical things like chakra healings or anything, any one topic we would pick up. It's a beautiful community where people come together and heal together. I love that. And yes, they can anybody who wants to connect with me, my website is called awanahealth.com, and I'm on all social media platforms. Shruti underscore Sethi underscore is my Insta profile. So yeah, do feel free to connect with me and just DM me, and I would be so happy to connect with all of you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I enjoyed this discussion, and it's plenty. You give us so many, good pointers as to anybody watching and listening. Doesn't matter what part of the world. Certainly, if you're in New York, this would be an ideal concept. But you're online, so people can still reach out to you and use your services no matter where they are. So that's great, and it's whether through the work that you do now on podcasts and shows, but also really the physical work that you do, because you do take them through a journey and help them as needed. And you have demonstrated successes, and testimonials that can prove that this stuff works. And by the way, everything that you listed today, anyone who's been conscious about health and wellness, that stuff is the real thing and it works. If you add it up correctly, it's stuff. Now, again, not easy, but it takes, sometimes you can't do it alone. You need help. And this is exactly where your services can be, very easily assisted, for someone that's needed. Now, of course, you don't have to be sick to actually seek these I guess, concepts and assistance, because you can just be preventative. But certainly, if you already, have a diagnosis and you're not sure what to do, this potentially can be a good alternative or an add-on, because again, you can have different ways. Ultimately, you want to maximize the opportunity if you feel that you have an illness that is very dangerous, or can lead to very detrimental outcomes. So this can be an add-on value as well. So again, whatever it is, the decision's going to remain yours, folks. As you know, this is just not an opportunity to know what's available and what services and resources, and taking it from someone who's been there, done that, and I guess successfully being able to not only help themselves but help others over the years. So it's just a great opportunity. So Shruti, anything you want to leave our audiences with before we part today and close our show?
I think you've summed it very beautifully. Don't wait for any drastic things to happen to change. Take inspiration, go for it. Because I'm telling you, diseases are for real, cancer is for real, and Not everyone can survive it, and nobody, it will test you, it will test your mental capacity, it will test your physical capacity, it will test your community, everything. But there's always hope. If even it's not late to start, even I feel even 40s, 50s, 60s, people in their 80s can thrive. We have been given such a beautiful uh, entity, or whatever you say, your physical body, uh, a machine or vessel, and it can do wonders for us, provided we give the right environment, we give the right things to it. Treat it as your best friend, as you treat your guest or your best friend, with love and care, and just provide. Have stopped loving our bodies, so self love is extremely important, and self love starts by giving the right things to your body.
Right, with those words of wisdom, I think we got to end our, our show today. Shri, thank you so much for joining us, for being with us, for sharing your value insights, and certainly the work you do, folks. Do check out the description of the show for the link to awaanashealth.com, and do check it out. And I'm sure there's stuff that can benefit you. That being said, I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. You did a show on the topic. Bye for now.